have got here a Poco M4 5G, and I bought this phone on 5th May and it got delivered on 8th May. I bought it for like 11,000 rupees. However, the real and original price of this phone is 13,000 rupees. But since there was an offer going on, I got a 2,000 rupees of discount, and the effective price was 11,000 rupees. So this is like a full review of this phone. I have been using this phone for almost like 14 days now, and I would like to share my experience with this phone so far. And it has been a mixed experience, cover all the topics in point wise. So we'll start from the build and design. So this phone comes in a plastic build. As you can see, it has got some textured back, and it has also got flat edges. Like all around it has this flat edge, and the display is like 6.6 inches, and the design looks fresh. However, I think this Poco branding doesn't look that good in my opinion. However, the design looks good. I think for 11,000 rupees it's kind of okay. We cannot expect like a really good design. So for that price I think it's good. Talking about the software and UI, it runs on MIUI 13 on top of Android 12. So the MIUI like is heavily customizable. However, the overall UI experience isn't that smooth, and it isn't as like buttery, or you can say as flawless as I was expecting. In fact, I have got a Redmi Note 10T 5G running on exact same hardware, and that feels like way smoother like when I compared with this. So I think this phone lacks some optimization, and that can be fixed through software update. Also, like I believe like MIUI on this device like needs lots of improvement. I kind of faced bit issues like when using this third-party app, you cannot use full screen gestures. See, I cannot use the full screen gestures. Like I can scroll, but the gestures are not working. So currently I'm using Nova launcher instead of this Poco launcher, and the navigation gestures aren't working. So I am forced to use this on-screen button. So that's one of the issue I faced. Also, there are like few small issues in the camera app which I will talk in later. Also, due to the UI issue and lack of optimization, this 90 Hz display doesn't feel like 90 Hz. Honestly, like I have been using 60 Hz display so far, and even using this it feels like I'm using a 60 Hz display. So that's one of my issue. Performance on this phone is like, talking about performance, yeah, the performance is good on this phone, and I think the chipset is like really capable enough to handle all the day-to-day tasks. Also, games run smooth. I will show you the BGMI setting on this phone. So as you can see in the graphic setting, it runs on smooth ultra, and like it can give you a constant, not a constant like, but like most of the time it gives you like 40 FPS. So the gameplay is actually smooth, and you won't feel any kind of like a heavy lag or any kind of stutter something. Also I ran Antutu Benchmark and I got a score of 2 lakh, somewhere like around 2,90,000 on Antutu, and on Geekbench it scored 545 on single core and 1700 on multi-core. So the hardware is like pretty capable enough, so that's not an issue. Coming about the camera, it has got a 50 megapixel sensor and the camera is decent. I think that's the best word to describe the camera performance on this phone. It takes decent pictures in daylight, and even in night it kind of managed to take a kind of decent picture, but that acceptable. Like for the price you cannot expect a lot. Also the front camera is 8 megapixels, so you cannot expect too much from the front camera. It takes decent pictures during the daylight, but during the night it really struggles. Also there is no stabilization, like in the stock camera app there is no stabilization. Also I didn't see any stabilization option in the camera app, so I believe there is no stabilization inbuilt in the camera app. It lacks stabilization. Like when you record a video, you can literally see on the screen itself the videos are really shaky. However, like if you use a GC cam, so the video taken from the GC cam, it looks a bit stabilized, and the video taken from the GC cam looks kind of better than the stock camera app. So yeah, that's something to point out. Talking about the battery, this phone comes with a 22-watt charger. Yeah. However, this phone supports only a maximum charging speed of 18 watts. So, and it has got a 5000 mAh battery. So like when you charge, it takes somewhere around 2 hours and 15 minutes to get from 0 to 100. And in my usage, I got almost around 7 hours of screen on time. So yeah, this is the when I was left with 13% battery, I almost got around 6 hours of screen on time, and during that time I mostly was using YouTube and playing BGMI. So yeah, it was kind of, you can say, heavy usage. I kind of got almost around 7 hours of screen on time. Talking about a display, it is a big display. It is a 6.6 inch 90 Hz LCD panel, and it produces kind of good colors. There's no issues in the colors, and for the price you cannot expect a lot. Like you cannot expect AMOLED display in that price. So the display is overall good. However, I would have liked if it had a punch hole display, but we cannot complain a lot. Talking about the camera again, I would like to show you some camera samples, and I would like to point out some. If you look at this picture, you can see it has blown out the detail. Like camera really struggled to adjust the contrast. Like I took this picture in a broad daylight, but it totally blown out the details on this white surface. The same happened here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but yeah, this is something I noticed. that sometimes it blows out the details in broad daylight. Even here you can see in a broad daylight, if you look at the sky, you hardly can see anything. Even in the corners, if I zoom out in the corners, there's hardly any detail. So that's one of the issue with the camera. It like really struggle to adjust the light. I think if you use a GC cam, it performs way better than the stock camera. So to sum up, I would like to point out all the pros and cons. If we talk about the pros, hardware is good, the price at which it is offered is really good. It has a really good big display, so if for multimedia consumption it's really good, and it's a 5G device, so it is kind of future proof. But if we talk about the cons, there are also like some cons. The first one I would say is the software and the UI. The UI on this device doesn't feel like very smooth and need lots of optimization. It actually lack optimization, because I have another phone on same hardware and that runs way smoother than this. So yeah, it lacks optimization, and I think that can be fixed to a software. Also the camera, I would say it is somewhere around average or below average. I was using a phone called Note 7 Pro, and it had a 48 megapixel camera, and this one has a 50 megapixel camera, and I guess that performed way better than this phone. So yeah, camera isn't a strong point on this phone. Also the battery, I think the battery capacity is like really good, 5000 mAh battery, but the charging speed is like really slow. Like it takes more than 2 hours to charge this device. Also this device is over 200 grams, so it feels heavy. So if you hold this device for a longer period, you will definitely feel some pain around your wrist. That's one of the problem. So if you ask me like if this phone is worth the price or not, I think it's definitely worth the price. Like bulk package at which this is offered is like really good. Actually the hardware is really good. The Dimensity 700 chipset is really good, and all the phones in this price range with which comes with Snapdragon processor are not as powerful as this device. So comparing that, this has a really good hardware. I think the camera and the software UI user interface is where this thing lacks. Else this is a really good package, really good phone, and if you are planning to get one, definitely get one. It is totally recommended from my side. So that is all about the review of this phone.